Full scope optometry, it's going to be a little different than you thought. We're not going to talk about all the cool things that we can do in Oklahoma because, quite frankly, we practice just like any other state. Most of what I see on a day in, day out basis is refractive care, which means the end visual solution is some type of contact lenses or glasses. Yes, we do have some surgical privileges, and I do use those as time allows. And if we have questions about that at the end, we can definitely talk a lot about that. So I practice at least 4 days a week in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Solo private practice. Started the practice from the ground up. We'll get into why that happened here in just a few minutes. And then 1 day a week I consult for ESLOR, which means I get to go into practices and see what they're doing good, what they're not doing well, and try to help them if we can, or steal good ideas with them and take them to somebody else. And so a lot of what we learned tonight comes from the consulting things. And so when we talk to a group like this, the tough part is I have no clue what practice you're going to go in, or what you're going to go in. So talking about solo practice, group practice, research stuff, it's kind of tough. But what we are going to talk about tonight are some tips and tricks that you can do no matter what type of career you're going to go into optometry that's going to separate you from everyone else that's out there. Now, before I go too much further, I'd like to introduce a colleague and good friend of mine. It's Mark. We're going to talk before the end of the night about how important this man is over here. I'm going to leave it at that for now, okay? First off, the little commercial part, because we're not going to talk about products because that would bore you. What does ESLOR do for you guys as students? This is not a tooting ESLOR's horn. This is, I want you guys to know about this. So here we go. There will be, and you'll hear about this at Optometry's meeting. If you don't hear about it, if it doesn't filter back to school, let me know. But every year for the next 9 years, ESLOR is going to do a $10,000 scholarship that's going to go to one student in the United States. And you can get information on how to apply for that and what it all entails, okay? And then ESLOR also now has a summer intern program. So those of you that are geographically pretty close to the Dallas area, in between, typically it's your first and second year because that's when you actually have some time off before they make you work your tails off in clinic. You can go live and work in Dallas and work for ESLOR and see what the corporate side of optometry is like while also viewing private practices as well. I hear that we have a student bowl event coming up tomorrow. Is that right? All right, so that's what's up here next, the OSB. Of course, that's put on by ESLOR. And then, all the folks that are ESLOR want you folks to be successful in practice. So they're a great resource on finding the practice of your dreams, where you want to get. We'll talk about how you can use the skills and tools of a big company like that to find out where you want to go. Because that's probably the #1 question I have students ask me is, how do I find that job? So we're going to hit on that tonight. And just if you think I'm kidding about that, we're actually hiring in my practice. So if you've got any interest in working in Southern Oklahoma, slip me a card for the end of the night. I'm not kidding about that. We're looking for somebody. Last but not least, educational programs just like this. So if tonight you enjoyed it, but you're like, man, I really want Dr. Parker to come back and talk to me about something else, just let myself or Susan know that. That's what ESLOR is here for, providing programs just like this for you. Okay? So our goal tonight is to talk about practice management only, and really learn from the things that I did stupidly, and maybe some of the things I figured out before I finally woke up and got smart about some stuff. Okay? And we're going to give you the one little secret, no matter what type of practice that you're in, on how to be successful. And it's not that hard, but you'd be shocked by the number of practices that I walk into it that these ODs just don't get it. And so we're going to unveil that little secret, and then wherever you go in your path, things are going to work out well for you, okay? All right, so open forum. Now, time is of the essence tonight, because I'm going to get you out by 6:59, I promise. But if you have questions as we're going along, feel free to text them to me. This is actually physically my cell phone number, and no, I haven't lost my mind. A lot of students have this. This works now, and it works later, too. So if you have a question down the road about a contract or something that doesn't look right, that's what I'm here for. I'm a consultant, not only an optometrist, but I'll help you out. I want students to be successful. So jot that number down. Don't worry if you don't get it. I'm going to give you all the handouts at some point in time before the week is out, hopefully. And that number will be in there. But if you have questions as we're going, you can old school it if you want to and raise your hand. That still works. But I know a lot of people like to text, and so there you go. All right. So my journey. Let's start off. Get the nasty stuff out of the way. I had 2 partnerships that failed. Great practice management lecture, right? Yeah. So I had 2 different practices that didn't work out for various reasons. Number 1 was communication issues. We had poor communication. Number 2 came down to the money, the value of the practice. So after all that stuff happened, and I was unemployed twice, in my young career, I was really kind of beat up about the profession. What I thought was going to happen didn't happen. So I had a choice to make. I'm in Southern Oklahoma, and I grew up in Kansas. I had no freaking idea where this town was when I was in high school. So I find myself there because I was chasing the dream of a practice, the second practice, and it didn't work. So I could either go to another town. I already invested 18 months in this town, so I decided to open a practice cold. Go out on a limb. Now, folks, this is back in 2006, 2007. Economy is a little different than it is right now. And we were able to do that because I was in that town for a little while and had a pretty decent patient base. So let me be very clear. Technically a stone cold startup, but not really, because I practiced in that town before. And no, we didn't have a non-compete clause. I get this out all the time. So that's why I chose to go into the scenario, the practice that I am in. So I get asked a lot about, well, which one's the best way to go? Solo or group? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't really care. Because I don't want you to think about your practice option as if I want to be in a solo practice. That's what I'm looking for. I want to be in group. It's all about the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you want to look for. You want to find a place that you want to live in, first and foremost. And then practice optometry there. And then whatever the best scenario is for you, it might be solo, it might be group. You'll figure that out. It will be blatantly obvious. So follow that. So don't get stuck right now in school like I'm only looking at group practices. Huge mistake. Keep the options open and let your career path find you, okay? All right. So I'm in a town, unemployed twice, loving life at this point in time. I'm in a town population, small Oklahoma. And when I was sitting in your seats, I'm like, I'm going to be in Kansas City, big practice, MD, ODs, taking care of disease, because that's fun and that's cool. And now I'm in rural Oklahoma, just me and a staff, and I'm taking care of glasses and contact lenses. But I love my job. Every day is different, and every day is very, very fulfilling. So just keep the options open. You never know where life is going to take you. So this is the demographics of the town. 26,000 people. Average income is about $36,000, so they're not printing money in Ardmore. Kind of a blue-collar community. If you listen to the AOA numbers, the AOA tells you when you look at an area, there should be 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 9,000 ODs to population base. Okay? At this point in time, there are 10 other private practicing ODs in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and 2 ophthalmologists. So a little quick math on the phones will tell you real quick that those numbers don't look like a good thing to open practice, right? It's already saturated. But I'm working with a consultant, just like I am now, and he is telling me, you need to open a practice. I said, you've lost your mind. There's too many optometrists around here. I said, what do you base that off of? For the population. He laughed. I said, well, his population numbers, number 1, are about 10 years old that you can get on Google. I didn't know that. Number 2, he said, I called your hospital. And your hospital brings in new physicians all the time. And they told me that when they quote a population density to a new physician, they use 100,000. I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting, because I don't know where those people are at. But then he drew a map of a 50-mile radius around Ardmore, because that's how far patients come in, and yeah, there's 100,000 people. And so what he unveiled to me, and this is where having some experts can really help you out, because you get so invested and so nearsighted, no pun intended, that one came out pretty early in the lecture. You get so nearsighted on this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, some outside influence is really helpful. And so he said, you can do this. There's enough patients there, but you've got to be different than everyone else. That's the crux of tonight's lecture, is how was I able to go into a saturated market and do something a little different and still there to this day. Thankfully, it was still open when I left this morning, so that's good. All right. So the waiting game happened. I got fired. If you ask him, I quit. Really? I'm not going to walk away from a good job, but whatever the case may be. I was unemployed, and I found my location, and I had 6 months before construction was complete, and I couldn't moonlight in the town I was in because it's just not big enough. None of my competitors wanted me to come in and work for them. I mean, how rude is that? I wouldn't take any patients. But it's a small town, so there's no lens crafters, there's nothing like that that I could have done and just worked for a little while there. So I made a phone call that changed my career completely. Picked up the phone and called my SLO representative. And that's where this gentleman comes in. Hey, now, he's not the person I called. But a lot of times I get asked, how do I find jobs? How do I get help? Folks, these people right here are who you need to get a business card tonight. I will give you my business card, help you any way I can. But get this guy's business card. Hope you brought some. You did? Good. See? Because this guy is in 10 to 15 practices a day, 30, 40 a week, so he knows who's lucky. He knows the good practices that he needs to hook you up with, and he knows the ones, most importantly, to stay the heck away from. All right? So I called my SLO rep and said, Mike, I need some help. And I was hoping he was going to have a dream job for me. But he didn't. What he did, he said, I understand what you're going through, and I'm going to give you some homework. Not at all what I wanted to hear. He said, let's have lunch. Now I'm good because I'm unemployed. Free food was wonderful at this point in time. So we had lunch, and he says, here's your homework assignment. I've got 10 practices for you to go see, and you can do this over the next 2 or 3 months. All right. So I called all 10 practices, not in my demographic. They're in Oklahoma City, Dallas, all over the place, none of my competitors. And I went and visited the practice. And what he told me to tell him was, Mike Conway sent me to you because he said, Dr. Parker's going to open a new practice and he needs to see some things that you're doing. And they all said, yeah, great, come on in. So I went to 10 office visits. Now, who in here has done office visits? Anybody had to go yet? Okay. How many have you been to, sir?
I've just done some shadowing.
Just shadowing? More than one, though?
Yeah.
Because the first one's kind of cool. The second one, you're like, God, do I have to hear better than one or two again? And the third one, you want to go play in the parking lot. All right? So imagine 10 of those. That's the homework. But I did my work, went to the practices, and then he said, I called him when we got done with that, and he said, let's do lunch again. Sweet, 2 free lunches. So we get back together, and what he said, now I had 2 pieces of paper. I'm like, dude, seriously, if you give me 10 more practices to go see, I'm going to strangle you. But what he told me was, he said, put the 5 practices that you saw that you think are making $1 million or more, and he said, put the 5 practices on there that you think may not be open in 2 years. Well, I put them down there, and he took his papers, and they matched up word for word, line for line. So I got an A+ on my homework assignment. Because it wasn't that tough to figure out. But the cool thing about it is those 5 practices that were kicking tail were doing the exact same things. And those 5 that weren't were like little lost dogs on the street. All right, so that's what we're going to get into. What are those 5 practices doing different? And I know what some of you are thinking right now. I'm not going into practice. I'm not going to own my own. I'm going to go work for somebody and learn everything I need to from that person. It doesn't happen like that. Because a lot of the practices you go into, no offense to the older ODs, but they've forgotten a lot of the basic business that gets them there. And so you can take these things into a partnership practice, even as an employee or associate, and all of a sudden start making a huge value for yourself. And one thing you have to understand about the business of what we do, and not just your own business, because folks, if you come work for me as just an employee, you've got your own little business. You've got your brand as an optometrist in that you're branding your exam and the quality of care you provide to your patients to those patients, all right? So here's the deal. If you take the business of optometry, and really any business falls under these rules. There's 3 things that they do, most of them. They sell a product of some sort. They provide a service as they sell that product. And hopefully, unless you're a non-for-profit, and I thought I was for a while, they do it for some type of price. Pretty simple, right? Every business you can think of does some form of that. And optometry falls under that business triangle. The secret is, to be successful, not all 3 of those triangles can have the same length of the side. So you've got to maximize 2 of them and kind of forget about the other one. So as you go into practice, what do you think I'm going to tell you to do on this one? Well, I want you to run your practice like Disney. Because what does Disney do better than anybody else? What are the 2 things they maximize? The product, which we can talk about what that is all night long. Is it little Mickey Mouse ears? Is it dolls? Well, really, honestly, their product is an experience. And to provide that experience, they do a service, right? What do they care zero about? Yeah. Because I know you guys don't know me very well yet, but I'm pretty normal, pretty sane. I've got 2 kids. So I go to Disney in Orlando, and we go, we're like, it's hot as who cares how hot. I mean, it's insanely hot. Humidity's like, I know I'm preaching to the choir down here in San Antonio, but 99.99%, and we're dragging the kids around. And so we finally go have lunch. So we walk into lunch, and I'm looking at this lady with these Mickey Mouse ears on, kind of ready to strangle somebody. And we ordered like 4 hot dogs, 4 french fries, 4 Coke. I can't remember what it was. And she says, that'd be $71.22. I said, I didn't order any beer. She goes, yeah, we don't have any beer. So what normal person would pay that much money to do that? Well, and the old softy father, because I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. So I get over that fun, and we're dragging the kids a little further, and all of a sudden, we round the corner, and my daughter Taylor, who's now 9, and she still remembers this, she still talks about it, goes, I'm like, what? And she said, there she is. And it was Cinderella. So the look on her face, I'm like, take it all. Disney. Because it's an experience. And all of a sudden, when I saw that, I could care less about how tired I was, how much I just paid for hot dogs and french fries that sucked, by the way. Food tonight's going to be much better. Because Disney does a great job on making you forget about price and selling you on their service and the experience. And that's how we have to run any optometric practice that you're in. I don't care if you own it or you work for it. Because your brand is going to be different than the person that owns it. So you can do things that make you stick out from the competition and make those patients, make those customers you're going to see at ease with you. And then if your glasses are a little bit more than your competition, they know they're getting a big bang for their buck. So what does a Disney eye care experience look like? And it's pretty simple. You have to strive to give your patients the most memorable, positive, memorable eye care experience you possibly can. All right? And we got to put processes in place that separate you from all the other optometric students that are out there. All right? Because I know this is a new school. Guess what? Not the newest anymore. There's schools popping up all over the place. So there's going to be a lot of ODs that are out there now and more that are going to be graduating. And let's face it, folks, we're all trained about the same. And so how does our patient, how does our customer know the difference between us? Well, they don't unless we tell them. All right, so we've got to put a process in place that makes sure that happens all the time. And it starts with this, to not being average. All right, now my favorite equation in school was C equals OD. I love that. You don't have to be the smartest person in the class to pass. And I'll even show you from the nights over, a lot of those C students, no offense, are kicking butt when it comes to being able to do business because they get it. All right? But we can't be average in practice. Because if you're average in practice, your practice will remain stale, you won't have growth that you need, and you're going to get burned out on your profession. And we don't want that to happen. So we're going to take a look at a different profession. And we're going to look at two guys, the same guy, in the same business, that can be choice A or choice B. Now, when I go in and consult, the dude you're going to see in choice A is what I see to these ODs that have only been out 10 or 15 years. And folks, I'm there right now. You've seen them if you've job shadowed some of them. They're like, better, 1, 2, I don't care. I just want to get to my next patient. Remember when that happens, how many times that patient has an interaction with you during the day? 1, right? But yet as an OD in practice, I have 26 to 30 patient interactions a day. Now, I know those of you in clinic right now said, dude, what? Because I'm seeing like 1 or 2 patients an afternoon. Trust me, you'll get a lot better and a lot faster. So I have 25 or 26 patient interactions, and I've got to be on every single time. Because if I'm not, that patient perceives, number 1, I don't care. Number 2, I'm not confident in my job. So let's see how this looks when looking at a slightly different profession than ours.
I'm in the neighborhood today because I have an exciting offer for you. I represent Dapper Dan Doorknobs, the best darn doorknobs in Delaware. And for a limited time, we're doing a buy 3, get 1 free special.
You're a door-to-door doorknob salesman.
Yeah.
Well, I've already got doorknobs.
I can see that. Well, thanks for your time. How you doing today, sir? Nice place you got.
Thanks.
Look, I'm sorry to bother you at home. I know you're a busy guy, but I'm here today because of the Dapper Dan Doorknob Company. The best darn doorknobs in Delaware. That sounds really cheesy, but it's true. The Dapper Dan Doorknob Company is offering a 3-for-1 special on all of its inventory.
You're a door-to-door doorknob salesman?
Yes, sir, and I can clearly see that you're a doorknob purchaser. I know. You already have a doorknob. It looks like a perfectly fine doorknob. But I can't help but notice that it's a chrome doorknob oil. Now, the spindles on these knobs have been proven defective. The locking mechanism tends to give out. Our Dapper Dan doorknobs come with a lifetime guarantee. They never lose traction. If you ever have a problem with one, we'll come out and replace it, no questions asked.
When you see it like that, it's night and day difference. And those 5 practices that were just kicking butt and taking names were guy number 2. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So it doesn't matter what mode you're going into. It's little things you can do. And folks, some of these things you can start tomorrow when you see your patients in clinic. You can do some things a little bit different and start these habits right now, okay? All right, so now let's fast forward. Say you're into your practice, whatever the case may be. You're in group practice, solo practice, your dream practice, whatever. But you have patients. Yay. All right? The problem with this is, and this is our practice, I would like to lie to you and tell you that's this whole thing, but it's not. It's these little windows right here. We lease this part of it. And I make this offer to every time I lecture to students. I lecture all over the country. You can come see this anytime you want to. I will buy you lunch. It's free lunch. It always tastes better. But if you're this close, I mean, we're not that far apart. So come up, take a look at it. I'd love to show you around and show you what we do. But the problem about offices and the problems about customers that we service are going to make an impression about their experience before they even see the best asset in the practice, and that's you. So you got to make sure if you run and own your practice, and I don't care if you're an employee, if you come in my practice and you see something blatantly stupid, I want to know about it. Because I see it every day, so I may not be focused on what you just saw as someone new in the practice. But the first impression can make or break you. So you have to make sure that the office is clean. Your entryway looks good. How many staff people go into the front door of the office ever? 0. There's always that back door people slide in about 5 minutes late to. So when I have my staff people rotate, and I don't just tell them, get a rotation going. Someone better come in the front door every day. Because if there's trash there, if there's paper there, if there's cigarette butts there, whatever, that might turn a patient off like that before they even walk in the door. And then something else that's got to happen with our staff. And I don't have a lot of rules in our office, so I'm very easy to get along with. Of course, I don't know if they were here if they would say that. I think I am. But they better not be the second person to say something into the office. They better be the first person. When someone walks in, welcome to the office. What can I do for you? Think about how you folks, when you shop, when you go out to eat, how annoyed do you get when you go into a restaurant? This drives me crazy. And there are 4 beautiful women in the back, all in black, and they're standing there when you walk in the door. You walk a little closer, and they say nothing. Say something. Because you need to welcome me into your establishment. Because, folks, I can go spend my money wherever I want to eat. There's great food everywhere. But I want to feel like you want me in your business. All right? It's the same thing in eye care. So some things that you can do that's different. Why would you not do this? Little coffee makers. I saw you guys have one in that really high-end surgical ophthalmology thing down there. You got a little Keurig brewer. Steal that. Not physically that one. But still, I'm going to get a great letter from the MD on that one. Hey, where's my coffee maker? All right, go take it. You can afford more. But those Keurig brewers are awesome because not a lot of offices have that, and it's a nice touch for patients because you want to make them feel comfortable and wanted. So we have coffee. And I've got these old birds that come in all the time and give me a hard time. But I just came by for the coffee today, and it's like 21 cents a pod. And I'm saying to myself, thank you. Because, yeah, you brought someone in with you, or you're in to take a look at glasses again. Maybe you didn't get your glasses during your exam, but now you're back for a cup of coffee and you see a new frame you like. So we do things like that. We have snacks that we offer throughout the day as well, too. It's a touch that not everyone does. It doesn't cost that much, but it makes a big difference. We're even trying now that there's companies that can... When my staff brought this to me, I thought, what the world? There's a lot of research being put on retail establishments and how it smells. I'm like, really? But yeah, you start looking at all these big department stores, and they control the scent in their environment and let people become more comfortable with their spending habits based on scent and scent alone. So there's companies out there, you plug this little thing in, it hides in your office, and it controls the scent. You can pick different ones. There's different ones that are better for retail, different ones throughout the year. Make people more comfortable, they'll stay in your optical longer. Believe it or not, it actually works. I was completely against this. I said, we'll give it 6 months. The number of comments that we have from female patients that say, God, your office smells great. That's all I need to hear right there. Because it smells good, they're comfortable. Now, guys, we're not stupid. We just don't say stuff like that. Like, yeah, it smells good. I'm not telling anybody it smells good. That's not what God does. All right? But really what it comes down to, the little secret, the little tidbit that if you gain tonight and really embrace what I'm saying, you're going to be successful. I can guarantee you. No mode, it doesn't matter what mode of practice you're going to, and it's this. We're going to get it out right now. 13 minutes into the lecture. So you can stop listening after this. Just kidding. Please don't. So when I go to work for Essilor, we were having a problem. We still have this problem today. Like some of our big accounts are going, God, why are all these people leaving our practices? Because the independent OD does about 70% of the eye exams. But we only sell about 46% of the eyewear. So that means there's a huge walkout rate. It means people are getting an exam from you as the independent OD. Congratulations, you didn't know you graduated, did you? Yeah. Independent OD, but yet they're not getting the prescription filled here. They're going over here to you for some reason. So why is that? Well, you're too expensive, right? That's what everyone thinks it is. It's not the case. The consumer focus group that we did, that I got to sit on my first one, I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we wasting our time? It's cost. That's what everyone complains about. So as we interviewed all these patients behind the little two-way mirror, that was fun, they forget that there's someone behind the mirror all the time. And the conversations they had when the examiner was out of the room, priceless. We can talk about that at lunch. We had a bunch, never mind, we'll talk about it. Guys, I don't know how we have survived, because there's always guys that got in the room and the examiner left and said stupid stuff. Like, we had one examiner that was really attractive, and my God, when she left, I'm like, turn it off. She walked into us, and we're all red-faced, like, I can't believe we just heard what we heard. Anyhow, if you're ever in there in those two-way mirrors, remember, there's always someone listening to everything that you say. All right? So what we heard on this was, time and time again, that the optometrist, or MD, or optician, because these were patients that just purchased eyewear, had an exam, and then purchased eyewear. And the ones that didn't purchase where they got their exam, the number one reason they said is the staff and or doctor didn't care about me. So I heard that one time and let it go. I heard that the second time, and then the chills on my back are standing up. I heard that about 100 times, and I finally said, someone's got to stop or I'm going to put my head through the window. Because it didn't make sense to me. No one in this room does not care about their patients if they're going to see tomorrow or see 5 years from now. If you did, you wouldn't be here. And if you don't, then you're here for the wrong reason. But everyone in our profession cares about their patients. And so I said, guys, I'm not buying this. So give me the latitude here to go talk to some of these patients, figure out what the heck they're talking about. And so as they finally let me do that, some of them that said it, I said, okay, you got to tell me what you said. You said they don't care. What would they mean? No. It's not that they weren't mean. They didn't provide me with the knowledge that I needed to make my eyewear decision. Son of a gun. Because I'm thinking to myself at this point in time, how many times in my career have I been too busy to give the patient the prescription they need from the examiner? It happened a lot. So I made sure that that stopped. So care in our industry does not mean like I physically care about the welfare of your eyes. Care to our customers means, did I educate them on what they need? And so think about when you go to a specialist or you go to someone that has knowledge you don't have, do you feel good if they don't give you the knowledge that you need? No. And you probably don't go back. That's why they didn't purchase their eyewear through you. Sorry, I picked on you. I'm sure you would do a great job. But that's why they went over here, because you were doing something that provided the education that they needed. Okay?